Hey, folks, welcome to a very special live hangout this afternoon or this evening, depending on where you are in the country or where you are in the world. But I'm not alone. I'm joined by. Oh, I can hear myself. That's why I stopped talking. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, I'm joined by sci fi writer Mike Leon, and he's here to fill us in on a current situation that's bubbling at a convention called Worldcon. It's a dumpster fire, to say the least. And Mike's got the information, and I thought you guys would enjoy the hell out of this. So, Mike,
Yeah.
say hello to all the fans of World Class Bullshitters. And
Hello, all the fans of World Class Bullshitters.
I'm glad the amount of people watching right now aren't all the fans, because that'd be really sad for me.
How many people are watching right now?
Only 100. So,
Oh God. Oh God.
yeah.
I'm fanning myself. I don't know if I can handle this. So much pressure.
Just don't look at the numbers.
And just have to like wrestle papers for an hour.
So tell the listeners what you told me yesterday, because I thought this was so interesting that we had to go live and make a special time for it.
Well, it's one of these awkward situations where it's really a whole lot of nothing because we're talking about this relatively tiny convention that has some influence. It has a lot of influence because of the Hugo Awards. I'm assuming you know the Hugo Awards. You've heard of that.
Yeah, let the listeners know what they are.
They're science fiction novel awards. They're a big deal if you're into sci-fi novels. You know, they're the kind of thing that you'd see on a book jacket at the library or something. Hugo Award-winning novel. There are some big ones. You know, I think Heinlein won a couple of Hugos. It's a big deal to win one. But there's a lot of politics and some behind the scenes, some shady stuff that goes on with that too. Much like, the Oscars, any kind of big entertainment award.
So now let us know specifically what's going on, because you asked me if I had heard about the situation. So I Googled it, and I found some tweets from the official Worldcon Twitter, and I found not really much posted outside of that. It seems like they've gone dark relatively fast. But it seems like they made some stupid mistakes, and now they're beginning to kind of like self-cannibalize. You went into more detail last night when you were messaging me.
Well, they pulled the delete everything yesterday. They scrubbed it all. And so what happened was they released the programs over the weekend for Worldcon 76, which is in August. It's August 16th in San Jose. And to sort of preface this, they've had some problems over the last couple of years that it's a long, long story, and it's gone on since at least 2013. They've had some political issues, which are really similar to what's going on with like Star Wars or Comicsgate right now. And they've sort of reached a division where like an overwhelming majority of just kind of like social justice yahoos are attending this convention now. And the programs apparently were not to the liking of a lot of the people that are involved. A lot of the authors that were invited to sign autographs and run panels. A lot of authors weren't even on panels at all. And so they were upset about them that caused the most of the, really, really fanned the flames was that they misgendered one of their, it's a Hugo nominee on one of the panels. And it's a weird situation because it's like they put out a bio for this person in the program, and it's an agender individual who wants to use the pronouns. I've got them here. I had to write them down. E, M, air, and M self are this person's pronouns. And apparently for the program, for the Hugos, when they pulled the biography, they got it from I'm talking about the Hugo people, the commission. We don't know exactly who. They got the information from Google or from the internet, and they changed A, like the letter E, to he in the biography.
Because it's English.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. Like it's a mistake that any any editor that's not familiar with the social justice rules of the week, like whatever they are today, would make. You'd see an E and be like, that they obviously that's a typo. Let's put an H there. And so they did that, and it exploded. It's the pearl clutching outrage is at level 10 right now, and they had to delete the program. They've actually recalled the whole thing. I've got a list here that's 6 authors that withdrew from the convention.
Over that.
It is not complete because there are a bunch more. That's just like 6 almost immediately withdrew their names. They pulled out of the convention, resigned. We're not going because of this outrage. And more have since resigned. This was yesterday. More have resigned since as of now. So they're redoing the entire program now. And like, if you go to their Twitter right now, it's just it's an outrage message factory. It's just flying.
I went there and it was just a bunch of apology this, apology that. It's like,
Yeah.
So you're going to criticize a bunch of writers for using proper English.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's what's going on. There's a lot of stuff that's just like, this person says, I have never ever used he pronouns. And after many similar exclusionary actions, this is the last straw. I am honestly not sure I can safely attend. And it's like, what does that even mean? I'm not sure I can safely attend. Like, like the death squads are going to be waiting there for him or something. They're going to burn him at the stake when we get to the convention.
Yeah, I don't get any of this shit. Like, thankfully, I've never met someone that like in person that says their pronouns are this, that, and the other. I don't. If I ever met someone like that, I would just tell them no.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really come to a conclusion on that. I don't know that I really care one way or the other. I'm in the same boat as you, where I've never met anybody like that. But I don't have any malice where like I want to call them what they don't want to be called. But at the same time, I would expect them to cut me some slack. If you have this unusual status, which you have to know is unusual by this point, you can't go through life just immediately, setting everybody on fire for calling you the wrong word. It's like a setup. They're going to call you the wrong thing. Most people are most of the time. They don't know.
So real quick, Logan Michael 69, thank you. What's happening? There's a big, there's a sci-fi or a convention for writing where the Hugo Awards are given out, the 76th World Science Fiction Convention, and they had to pull the program just because of a misgendering of the one of the writers who was a Hugo nominee, and people are in an uproar. People are going nuts over something so dumb.
Yeah, so to give you a little bit of perspective, this convention in a good year gets about 10,000 attendees, and Comic-Con, the San Diego Comic-Con has like 150,000 or more. So it's 150 times the size of the convention we're talking about.
It just blows my mind, though, that this is like something for people to withdraw from. Like, they're trying to make a political statement that strongly, like, oh, I can't be there because you put an H in front of an E, which, you would assume is the word he, or just shit like that.
Right. And they're cannibalizing each other at this point, too, because you have to put this in context where, as I explained earlier, they had some problems that were a lot like Comicsgate, and they've driven out a lot of the the right think people from the convention. Those people aren't involved anymore. They're not running the convention, and it's still not good enough. After the convention is bent over backwards to satisfy this social justice crusade, it's still not good enough, whatever they do.
And that kind of stuff makes me laugh because they'll defeat their own purpose.
Yeah, I mean, the end result, sure, ultimately is if people get upset about this and it's not good for their own cause, you end up at a point. The end game is a point where people just go back to calling them freaks because they're sick of dealing with this, you know?
Yeah, like you said earlier, though, I don't have any malice towards these people, nor would I want to go out of my way to hurt somebody.
No,
but I
neither
don't
do
get
I.
this either.
Neither do I. I don't have any malice, but when it gets, one day I might. If it gets to a point where they're in my face every day, all day, for everything I do, eventually, like, I'm gonna have to say, okay, well, enough is enough. We're done with this.
Yeah, and it's messed up how this has infected every part of entertainment now. Every part.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah, I mean, you've got the stuff. It's not really related, but I mean, there's all this stuff going on with James Gunn this week. I don't know if you've gone over that on the show. Dan Harmon, and that's like a mirror of what usually happens. You got the thing with Roseanne, and it's like what happened to Roseanne. It's now the political opposite is happening to James Gunn, but it's really still the same job lynch mob problem.
Well, I think Disney painted themselves into a corner by shit-canning Roseanne. They had to shit-can James Gunn to prove a point.
Yeah, they probably did. Yeah.
Real quick, we got a couple super chats I got to answer. First from Bazinski, thank you very much. Are you a feminist or SJW? No. Why are you not a feminist or SJW? Are you blah, 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 blah? Insert insult here. No. Yeah. No is no, ma'am. Good day. And then Cesario Japan says gender pronouns have gotten confusing and baffling.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And by the way, folks, for everyone who keeps asking, no, Midnight's Edge didn't decline. For the next cycle of High Councils, we're not having any guests. So just to give you guys a heads up, nobody declined. There's nothing. There's stuff in the future. I'm probably gonna have a lot of people on the channel separately. So back to what you were saying. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, I'm. You didn't cut me off. I'm good.
All right, cool. By the way, I think we're getting a little bit of echo on your part. So just a heads up. Now we're not getting it before, but a minute ago we were. So.
Got some headphones I can put on.
Cool.
Is this any better?
Perfect. No echo and no problems.
All right, good. So yeah, people are dropping out of this thing, and what will be kind of interesting to see is whether or not the revised program, when that comes out, satisfies all the demands. I don't think it will.
I don't either. You don't answer to those people's demands.
No, that's the worst thing. I mean, once they get the ball rolling, it just doesn't stop.
No, it's confusing that this is acceptable now in terms of entertainment. It's like, look, write a book and do your stuff. There's a reason your field's going to die out, people.
Yeah, I don't know that it really is acceptable. It could just be that this is a microcosm. This is such a small convention, such a small elite group that only they are this way, but they're all concentrated in this one area. So that's what they do.
Well, they've ruined Star Wars to a degree. Disney's also to blame. Like, we can't just say, oh, the SJW's ruined Star Wars. No, Disney has actively ruined Star Wars as well. That's not a point of contention with me. But these type of people have definitely infected the comic book industry. And now the New York Times is putting out articles today about how comic book publishers need to find alternate means of distribution and stuff like that. And I'm like, you guys need to tell good stories, because the minority of fans that you guys want to crap on will buy $50 a week in books if you guys put out quality stuff that didn't piss on their favorite characters.
Right. Yeah. To some extent, I blame social media. I blame likes. They're worth nothing. And you get these suits that are in charge of these big companies, and they see that a post that's demanding some kind of social action, or trans Captain America or something, it gets 1 million likes, and they think that means something. They think that says something about their demographic, but it doesn't. It just means 1 million people clicked like because they were virtue signaling. Like, what percentage of those people are actually going to spend money on your book? You know, probably
not even 1%.
Not even 1%, exactly. And that's where the gap is that they don't understand. And they just don't see it.
Well, I think they're so focused on getting brownie points in the 24-hour news cycle, and then they get talked about, and they think people are going to run to their local comic book stores to pick up that book and sell, 1 million copies of a book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the last time a comic book sold. I take it back. I think Star Wars #1 sold 1 million copies, but that's Star Wars, and that already had a built-in fan base. Plus, it had the allure of it coming back to Marvel.
What year was that?
2015, I think. The hype for Star Wars was off the charts in 2015.
So that was relatively recent, right around The Force Awakens.
Yeah, less than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how they're focused on the wrong thing. Like, it's a business at the end of the day. You'd think they'd always be going for what's, the big heavy hitters, what's going to sell.
Yeah, they don't. I don't understand why that is. I still think, I keep going back to social media where I think they're misled by it. They just see so much. They see that big number, they see all those likes, and they think that that's a market that they can capture. And it's not. That market isn't there. It's a ghost.
Yeah, I talk about that with Star Wars. We call it the woke audience that just isn't there. They just don't. You can virtue signal to all these people, hey, we got this, we got that. Look what we're doing, how progressive we are on Star Wars. But then the fan base, which is already diverse to begin with, was just like, what is this shit? Mm-hmm. They don't come back. You can trick them once, you can't trick them twice.
Yeah. Yeah, you really can. Although, I don't know. I don't get on Star Wars case as much as you guys do. At least with the movies, I don't really pay attention to the extended universe stuff. But I liked the Force Awakens. I thought it was pretty good.
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy. I know. You guys keep shitting on my boys at Red Letter Media for that one.
Well, I think they backtracked because they built this credibility up they built themselves up with the reputation of, criticizing the prequels, rightly so.
Yeah.
But then they just look the other way with The Force Awakens, and then they come out later with a little video like, hey, guys, this is the actual problem with it type of thing. And I'm just like, you guys got to believe what you believe in all the time, and don't give this one a pass because it makes you feel good.
Well, it's not perfect, It's better than the prequels, though. I think it is.
See, the first thing I said when I left that movie is I appreciate episode 1 a lot more.
No, I was in the opposite boat. Totally different boat. I liked that movie. I didn't like The Last Jedi, but I also didn't think it was as bad as you guys seem to think it is. I guess the social justice stuff was a little more prominent in that one, though.
Well, look who made it.
Yeah.
Rian Johnson is that kind of guy right there.
Yeah, I haven't seen... What was his last movie before that? Looper?
Yeah.
I never saw it. Is it any good?
I thought it was all right. I'm not going to act like just because I hated The Last Jedi, I hated Looper. From what I remember, I liked it enough. And I like Breaking Bad, and Rian Johnson directed some episodes. But as a listener pointed out, you can't give him too much credit for directing a good episode of Breaking Bad because the producers and the show already kind of existed. So he just kind of came in, was a hired gun, and left. So I'm not saying everything he's ever touched is dog shit.
Yeah. I'm going to drop a hot take here. I don't like Breaking Bad.
Oh, again, that's strike 2, dude.
I watched it all, and it was just okay.
I couldn't stand his wife.
Yeah, I couldn't stand her either. I was kind of hoping when spoilers, when she jumps into the pool, I was hoping she would just die there, because that would have made the show better.
I agree.
Yeah, that would have been an improvement.
When the show was on, I was a member of a Facebook group that was basically Skylar White sucks. And every day they would post a meme or something about how shitty of a character she was and how hypocritical she was. She didn't fit the tone of the show. Like, everything else fit, and then she kind of just pushes her way in. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, please go away. And then the actress is like, I'm getting real life hate, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want you to get hurt in real life, but I want you to stop acting in this show. Like, please kill off Skylar.
Yeah. But it's like the Rose Tico thing. Everybody hates the character. And I don't know how much is directed towards the actress, but it shouldn't be. It's not her fault. It's the director's fault, the writer's fault. It's other people's fault. I'm pretty sure I would be a terrible Star Wars character, but you know, if you cut me a check, I'd sign up.
I've always made sure to let people know that we hate Rose. Not hate, just dislike. Rose Tico sucks, but Kelly Marie Tran's fine. So
Yeah.
I always make sure that there's that line to delineate that for people. But you know, they like to blame us and try to give people that dislike a product a bad name. Now they're killing their fan base in that way. Your story is it's killing themselves from the inside out, and it's even crazier because it's already such a niche thing.
It
They're just
is.
going to alienate themselves from anyone that even wants to get into that stuff.
Well, ultimately, all they're really doing is killing the con, because you know, when you get into the when you get deeper into this story, you get into the whole sad puppies thing from a couple of years ago, which was kind of like Comicsgate, but for sci-fi novels instead of comic books.
Well, what was that about?
It was a very similar type of story. I mean, you know what's going on with diversity in comics now with the Jawbreakers thing. I think you've covered that, right?
Oh, we've had diversity in comics on the channel, but
He's been on the channel.
Yeah, I haven't really covered much about Jawbreakers.
So in 2013, there was a sci-fi writer named Larry Correia. He's a best-selling sci-fi writer. He's sold I don't know how many millions of books. He wrote Monster Hunter International, which it's like a cheesy sci-fi thing. Guys with machine guns kill vampires. It's along the lines of like a Dresden Files or something like that. He wrote on his blog that he wanted to win a Hugo Award, and he started a voting block saying, you know, hey, all of my fans, go vote for me at the Hugos. And they started overwhelming the Hugo nominations because this convention is small enough that, you know, it only takes a couple of people to just monopolize the voting. And there was a backlash from the convention people and from some people at Tor Publishing. And this took place over the course of 2 or 3 years, because he did this year after year. Like every Hugo, you know, every year he was trying to get a Hugo, and he ran the same campaign. And they eventually started accusing Correia and all of his friends, the other people that he was encouraging they vote for, of just, you know, the racism, transphobism, whatever it is. They're all racists and homophobes, and they don't want black people to write sci-fi novels, is what it turned into. You know, that was the accusation. And of course it was ridiculous. You know, nobody ever made any such a claim on Larry's side. And that's kind of what led into this. The Worldcon was at the center of that. And in 2015, at the peak of the whole mess, so many novels were nominated that Larry and Larry's friends, Larry's cohorts had recommended, that they were able to manipulate the actual nominations, but not the winners of the Hugo Awards. That's decided by a smaller group of voters, which were, you know, not Larry's fans. So many books were nominated that they didn't even have options that were outside of what Larry and his Sad Puppies group had nominated. So they chose to just not give awards at all that year in many of the categories. So it would be like, you know, you were watching the Oscars and the nominees are Transformers 4, The Transporter, and American Werewolf in Paris. And they come out and just say, well, we didn't give it to anything because we don't like any of those movies. And that's kind of what happened. It was a big story at the time, at least relatively big. NPR covered it, a couple other news magazines. But, you know, coming from that, a lot of these writers just pulled out, and the awards, they changed the way that the awards work so that the block voting, it doesn't work as well anymore. And, you know, those writers, the writers on the right, have gone to other conventions, and they've just gone their separate ways. And, you know, now you end up with this at Worldcon, and it's kind of like, I see this and I don't really feel sorry for them, because it's kind of like they made their choice, you know?
Yeah, and I'm thinking about long-term repercussions in terms of what's written, what's adapted. It's going to be a weird creativity wasteland in the future because everyone was focused on participation or what's the word I'm looking for? They tried, so good for them. But I think the work will suffer after a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I think you mean like the identity politics will damage it, right? Like
Yeah,
this.
long term, we're going to look back on this as just a weird,
Yeah,
creatively bankrupt era.
yeah. It's like affirmative action of entertainment, and it's just not a great idea. It's not going to produce anything entertaining. Um, yeah, it doesn't seem to work.
Well, they don't have to worry because Netflix will buy up all their crappy books and adapt it to original Netflix series that no one will watch. So,
Will they?
yeah,
Will they?
sure.
Because I don't think Netflix is free of this either. If anything, they won't do it because some of the crap that they're putting out. Amy Schumer stand-up routines and stuff. They're
Oh,
they're
Netflix is just putting out garbage left and right. I can't. I'm not even trying to be like, oh, hate on the biggest streaming service in the world. I have
yeah.
had Netflix for a better part of a decade now, and I'm just like, this is not what it used to be.
Oh, I got you. You're saying they're going to buy up the the garbage entertainment. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
and
Absolutely.
adapt that. That's
Yeah.
going to be the future, and then we're going to be told these are great things, and then people aren't going to be receptive. It's funny that their ideologies are going to put them out of business. Not necessarily Netflix per se, but like these companies that push this shit. People are just going to be like, "Yo, I don't like it," or they're just not going to show up at all.
Yeah.
And we're going to find another means of entertainment, be it through sports or self-produced content like this channel here on YouTube. Just
Yeah.
things like that aren't going to be, um,
Well,
you
that's
know,
if they don't demonetize everything, because those companies are taking over YouTube at this point. Not directly, not monetarily. They're not buying it, but they're definitely influencing it. We the writing's on the wall there, and there's plenty of evidence to suggest that CNN and some of these major news media organizations, especially, are going to YouTube and making some demands, and YouTube's bending over backwards to appeal to them. That's why they're demonetizing all these independent creators right now.
it's a weird time for that. Uh, I hope we don't get roped into all that kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this video's demonetized. It's only going to take one person to report it. Say, we misgendered somebody in our conversation here.
I don't even think we dropped a bad four-letter word in this entire conversation. This is like the cleanest, most PBS friendly video we've ever produced. It's very it's not even intentionally safe. It's just you're informing me on a situation that I think's absurd and that I thought the listeners would enjoy because it goes to show you that all this crap has infected everything in
Yeah,
entertainment.
it it comes back to, I hate it. I hate saying this. It goes back to a phrase that I've hated my entire life because I've worked in the service industry for a long time. The customer is always right, and when it was originally said, that was what it meant. It's been screamed in my face plenty of times when I was working for the phone company and stuff like that. The customer's always right. The customer usually means it to mean blue is green. Whatever they say is right. But what it really means, in context, in proper context, is that they'll go somewhere else. Whatever they pick is what's right.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen is the customers are going to go somewhere else because they're not. They just they're not going to keep reading Marvel if Marvel keeps doing this stuff. They're not going to keep going to this convention if this convention keeps doing this kind of stuff.
No, I don't. Excuse me. I don't think they'll go to many conventions. According to Ethan Van Sciver, Comic Con is their attendance was down. I think his source was NBC, so I don't think he's just pulling numbers out of his ass. But I guess geek culture, or whatever we want to call all the encompassing sci-fi comics, everything that's circle of everything. That's just going to slowly shrink down because of the people. Like it's already welcoming to so many people, and then they try to make
Yeah.
it weird. And they're like, "Oh, this is an exclusionary group that we want to help change." It's like you guys are making it an exclusionary group. Do you not see that?
Dude, I hope it shrinks down. I hate geek chic. That's what I call it. I don't know if other people call it that, geek chic, but it's in right now. Nerd is in. And I don't appreciate it because there are so many people that just don't know anything about this stuff or have any real interest in it. I ran into a guy at a party, this was a year or two ago, and I'm wearing like a Captain America T-shirt or something, and this guy walks up to me and he says something absolutely outlandish, like, "Hey man, I love your shirt. Comic books are my life." And I said something like, I asked him, "What do you think about this giant Marvel summer event that's the biggest thing going on in comic books right now?" And he had no idea what it was. He had never heard of it. And I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? You don't know? You just said comic books are my life. And he's like, oh, well, I watch the movies, and I don't know what to think of that.
Oh, fake fans are easy to weed out. Now,
Yeah.
I in my personal life, I think to myself, well, maybe they're just misinformed, so guide them in the right direction. Yeah. But I get where a company would be coming from, where it's like, well, we got to appeal to a big audience. But at the same time, don't alienate the audience you have. I can't think of a company that's done it right for a while. I guess Marvel, the MCU, had done it right the whole time up until maybe what's coming next. I'm not from the future, so I can't speak on it. And real quick, we got a super chat from Chris Gorgon that says, "Look up sad puppies." That isn't a great explanation.
My explanation is not great. I'm a better writer than a talker, and I'd like to, I would prefer to have outlined that better. But it got messy, and I don't know all of the details, and so I don't want to say something and be wrong either.
I understand where you're coming from. But the fake fandom thing pisses me off to no end, because I guess I'll have a get off my lawn moment. When you go to these conventions and there's clearly people there that don't know anything about it.
Oh, absolutely.
They're either there for the attention, or they call them the Funko Pop crowd. They are like the most bland, boring representation of pop culture. And while it's popular, those things don't retain value.
Oh, yeah. Those things are going to be the Beanie Babies of the next decade. They're going to be gone. Nothing.
Yeah, I just don't know why people have like walls. Like, there's these stores around me that are like, oh yeah, come see our Funko collection. We'll buy yours for top dollar. It's like, how? This shit's going to go away very fast.
What is top dollar for a Funko Pop collectible?
I know somebody was like the Pennywise the Clown one was going for pretty high last year. No, wait. Yeah, that was late last year.
Are we talking four figures here?
Oh, God, no. We're talking maybe $100, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay. I guess that's not as bad as the Beanie Babies got. But they have way too many of them. I was in a GameStop a couple of weeks ago, and it's just like the one whole wall of the building, I think, was just Funko Pops.
That's how GameStop is around here, too. It's just stupid. If you're into it, cool. Collect what you like, but it doesn't have an identity. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say about all this stuff is Funko Pops and fake fandom and all this shit that these companies think are going to keep them going forever. They don't have any identity to them, any weight, any quality, if you will. Yeah, and I'm sure you've heard of this. There was a story that came out this week. I guess Marvel is talking about being an identity brand, not a comic book publisher anymore. What? This is something I heard, and I didn't look into the actual statement too closely, but they were talking about how they want to transition into being an identity brand, like they're rebranding the company, I guess. I don't think they said they were going to stop printing comic books, but that's how they want to be seen now, as an identity brand. Oh, Marvel Lifestyle is what people are saying in the comments. Marvel Lifestyle, there you go. It's a dumb thing. I don't want to be a part of the Marvel Lifestyle because all they do is shit on you. To me, it says that they don't think they can sell comics anymore. That's what I just mentioned. GameStop. That's what GameStop is doing. If you've been in a GameStop lately, you've noticed that more and more of the store is now dedicated to collectibles and T-shirts and things, and less of the store is actual video games, because they're getting murdered by Steam. You can't sell anybody a physical copy of a video game anymore. I still will go to my local Best Buy and pick up like Nintendo games.
Yeah.
But I am a sucker for like those PlayStation sales where they're like, oh yeah, 80% off. I'm like, shit, well, I'm going to buy games I don't even want to play because they're $2.
Oh, I do that all the time.
I'm guilty. I have an external terabyte hard drive just full of shit that I'm like, oh, one day I'll play it.
Yeah, I haven't even downloaded most of the games that I own. And, you know, I do the same thing. That it's $1, I gotta have it. It's awful.
We got a super chat from Zaire. It says, sounds like you are talking about fans of the brand, like Boofire said.
Fans of the brand, like
I think in terms of like the fake, the faux geeks and all that stuff.
Yeah, you know, I would even extend it. I'd even further qualify it to people that just don't even actually know at all. We have a barcade in downtown Cincinnati.
Oh, 16-bit?
Yeah. And every time I go in there, that place is just packed with people that know nothing about video games. Nothing at all. I can't play Street Fighter without some drunk sorority girl walking up and saying, "Oh my God, Mortal Kombat! I love Mortal Kombat." and I'm just like, hey, nobody's there for the video games. It's like it's just it's a poser fest. They do have some very nice drinks, which are too expensive.
The Hulk Hogan?
I haven't tried the Hulk Hogan. I'm a fan of the Tawny Katine myself, even though she broke up Whitesnake. But well, that's a whole other discussion. That's for another podcast.
Real quick, Yana Hall says Marvel is outsourcing Spider-Man to IDW. Have you heard about that?
I have not heard about that.
So they have another Spider-Man series that's geared towards young adults or younger audience members from IDW. Mm-hmm. Now, I had a conversation with my friend privately. I was like, all right, I'm assuming that they're going to have like the regular Spider-Man. Maybe they're going to try to amp up the violence or the heaviness to try to bring up the old audience, like the old people in the audience, and get them to come back into the store. And they're going to use IDW to publish the kid-friendly saccharine version. So that's my guess. There's been nothing confirmed. I could be completely wrong. They could have elaborated further at Comic-Con. I'm just going based off what I guessed when I first heard the news. It's so dumb.
You think that IDW is going to do the like the Bowdlerized version, and Marvel is going to do the more adult one?
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the case because I don't need everything to be a Marvel Max series. But in the 90s, when comics before the bubble burst, you had, I guess 13-year-old would have been like your target audience. Because if I had a big, like this channel, we appeal to a certain type of people. I really don't know the age of everyone that watches and stuff like that. But if I had a business that it was
get off my lawn.
Yeah. But if I had a business that geared towards like I was trying to sell stuff to kids, like a product like comics and stuff, I'd always gear slightly older, not too old where they don't understand stuff, but kids always want to be like treated like adults. Like they want to be able to stay up late, drink an extra pop, eat what they want out of the fridge type of thing.
Yeah.
I'd give that audience something slightly above what they understand that either makes them want to learn more about something or just entices them because they feel like, oh, what if my parents knew I was reading about Spider-Man stopping a drug addict or something like that? You know, just something small like that.
Hey, I spent a ton of money on Spawn comics in the 90s for exactly the reason you're talking about.
As a kid, I never got into Spawn strictly because I was such a Spider-Man fan, but I did like the Punisher and stuff like that because of, oh man, there's bullets and violence. Or sometimes I'd watch, certain movies because I thought, oh, they're so mature, trying to feel cool about myself.
Well, I mean, McFarlane did Spawn and Spider-Man. I like the McFarlane Spider-Man the best, at least the design. I've always thought it was so cool the way he drew the character.
Oh, with the big eyes and all that stuff.
With the giant eyes, super skinny. He's always in really unnatural poses. And he, of course, defined the way the webbing is drawn. I think everybody since McFarlane has drawn the webbing the way he did.
Well, actually, McFarlane didn't create that design. A guy named Michael Golden created it.
I did not know that.
Yeah, McFarlane's the second person. The spaghetti webbing is what it's technically
spaghetti
called.
It does look like spaghetti, yeah.
Yeah, that real quick, we got a very big super chat from VGEDRR. Thank you very much for your generous super chat. This pronoun stuff is promoted to wreck the human interaction that feels right to 99.9% of people. SJW/commies need to destroy the natural gender roles that keep society running, just so they can make their insane utopia real. What do you have to say about that, Mike?
Man, for me, I think it's more about the person. I mean, it could be, but I think it has more to do with the person's actual, like, it's their own ego. Because it's a setup. It's a situation that, you go talk to this person and it's something you can never get right. You're never ever going to get it right, no matter how hard you try. And they're always going to have this one up on you where they can condescend and tell you got it wrong. They're morally superior in this area, and it's about that superiority. They always have to have that.
I guess my stance on it is we don't really have too much to worry about anymore, so people worry about dumb shit, and they create problems for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, look at just like, can you imagine if there was this much content, like YouTube content, talking about other content in the 90s or the 80s? We would have thought this was insane.
I know. The world's a completely different place.
The first time I saw that there was a show about The Walking Dead, like The Talking Dead.
Oh, I hate that show so much.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. But I hate The Walking Dead as well.
Same.
But that there was a show about the show blew my mind. I was like, what does the world come to? We're going to have an after show for the show. And where does it end? Are we going to do an after show for the after show now? That's what Howard Stern does, I think, at this point.
That's how I feel about sports, because it's like you got the pre-show, then you got the event, then you got halftime, then you got the post-show. It's like an 8-hour event to watch one football game. It's like, Jesus, guys, can we just get through the game and move on to the next one or something like that?
We need a war. We need to just go start a war and just, I don't know. We need to start World War III. It's time. It's time. We need to toughen up. We need something to do. I
think people need to just find something productive for their time to go do something like that. Like, go out and create something, or go out and make a human connection.
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself to something like, something crazy.
Well, then the other side of it is that it's so hard to do that because you've got these things competing so hard for your attention. And, they're using every tactic they can to just grab hold of you all the time. It's really hard to say no. It's hard to shut off Facebook and not look at it for a week. It's hard to do.
It is. I had to do it for school once. It was weird. I had to do it for a day. I just made myself lay in bed all day.
Yeah. I feel bad looking at it now. I scroll through it in my, my dead time at my day job or something. I'm scrolling through it, and I just feel bad the whole time. Like, why am I doing this? But I still do it. That's creepy.
I run it for the Facebook for the channel, and I'll give it that. It's a lot of fun. The channel Facebook stuff is, there's a lot of people on there that make me laugh every single day, and there's really engaging conversations. I just like that side of social media, and that's the side I always solely focus on. I try not to get into the debates or stuff like that. And I have friends that post that crap, so I just put them on mute, and we remain friends. We don't have those conversations, and I think it's really easy to have friendships with people you have differing views on. You just don't talk about those things, and you only focus on what you have in common. Don't dig into this shit. Like, oh, I feel like having a debate on this. No, because it only just it burns bridges.
Oh, I totally agree. I'm in a group for a pretty popular sci-fi writer who's, I think it's his only rule. If it's not his only rule, it's his number one rule that's posted at the top of the group, and it just says no politics. And he very strictly enforces it. If you even mention anything that's going on in the news, anything, that gets deleted. You might get banned. He doesn't want anybody talking about it on either side. And it's one of the best groups that I'm involved in on Facebook, because nobody argues about that stuff. As soon as you bring it up, the conversation's doomed. There's going to be a flame war, and nobody should.
Jimmy B, I hope you noticed that I gave you an encore of the dumpster fire. Thank you for your super chat. I just decided to show it to you instead of reading it on the air, but either way, thank you very, very much.
Is that what this video is?
That's what I call. Yeah, that's what that was showing a minute ago. It was a literal dumpster fire.
I get it now. I'm a little slow.
This Worldcon situation, it's not new to anything. It just keeps popping. Like, that kind of stuff keeps popping up, and that's why we're covering here tonight for the little bit of time that we have left, because it's relevant to everything. It just goes to show you that Star Wars isn't safe. comics aren't safe, writing's
Yeah.
not safe. They're gonna get it in like the cooking world soon or some shit like that. I don't know. I'm just picking the most like benign thing I can think of, a restaurant.
Well, because it's not actually about what they say it's about. It's about power. I talked a minute ago about the egos of these individual people. They have to have this moral superiority. And those people also, they want more power. They want more political power. They want the promotions. They want to run things. And they know that these types of tactics are a way to do it.
Timothy Riggs has a point he'd like to bring up via Super Chat. Thank you, Timothy. Frankly, I blame shit like The Big Bang Theory for the hipsterization of nerd culture. I despise that show and others for pushing that shit.
Yeah,
it definitely is. Yeah. Well, I mean, I did watch The Big Bang Theory at first, and I thought,
I've watched a ton of it.
I watched the first 4 or 5 seasons when it came on.
Yeah,
I used to watch it when it was new on Thursday nights with my friend Shira. I used to go over to her apartment, and we'd hang out and watch The Big Bang Theory and stuff. Usually hang out till almost midnight each Thursday.
But I've seen Tub Girl too. That doesn't mean I think it's cool.
Wow, you pulled out the most extreme case of internet shit I could think of.
Yeah, it's just just because you've watched it doesn't mean you like it.
No, not at all. Not at all. With The Big Bang Theory though, I guess it made nerd culture sexy, and it was something marketable.
It is sexy, and that's one of the biggest problems I have with that show. There's an episode from early in the series where the nerdy Jewish guy, I forget his name.
Oh, Howard.
Howard is having some troubles committing to his girlfriend, and he keeps having these hallucinations of Katie Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica. She's like in his bathtub. He's hallucinating her there. And he's having this dilemma, this personal dilemma that basically his girlfriend is not hot enough. Like, she's a nerd. She's an ugly nerd. And he doesn't want to settle down with a girl like that. He wants to hold out for Starbuck.
I'm about to say, Bernadette's the best looking one.
That's exactly my point. Like, the weird break from reality that they have when they've got this famous actress up there who's smoking hot. She's like an 11 out of 10. And, this nerd guy is sitting there trying to say that she's a dweeb, he doesn't want to be involved with it. It's ridiculous. What planet do they live on?
Not Earth.
Yeah, and all those girls are like that on that show. The blonde that lives across the hallway. It's like, this is just not realistic.
No, and it wore out its welcome for me. Bazinga got boring. It's like, yeah, you go to the comic book store and do this shit. You're just like me. And then you realize they're just a bunch of, doctors and physicists and rich people with, it's just stupid shit they do constantly. It's like, you talk about realism, how many times can they do the same shit or get into these these situations? It's very reminiscent of an old 70s sitcom, like a Three's Company. How many times does Jack have to act gay so the Ropers don't kick him out or something like that? How many times can Sheldon be off-putting and put off Amy Farrah Fowler's advances? It's just shit like that, and it's so boring. Network sitcoms don't do it for me. I'm sure most people out there don't enjoy a lot of network sitcoms as well.
No, not since the 90s. But Sheldon is another case where, like, he's insane. He's an insane person. He has a disability. He's not anybody's representation of just a nerdy guy. That's not what a nerdy guy is.
Mm-mm.
That's another place where the show really breaks from reality and presents it as reality.
No, and it's going to be interesting to see how this geek culture revolution handles stuff like The Big Bang Theory and The Walking Dead, because I go to horror conventions and you see, like, when Norman Reedus or the cast of The Walking Dead shows up, you get an influx of people. And from a business standpoint, I get why they show up. But it's going to hurt these conventions when these people pull out after The Walking Dead's over or it's no longer cool and hip. They're just going to be like, oh, well, Norman Reedus died on the show, so I'll never go to a convention to meet him type of thing. Or, it's going to hurt people in the long run. I don't think they have the long-term game plan worked out properly.
I thought The Walking Dead already wasn't cool or hip anymore.
There are people, that still stick through it. I never thought, season 1 was good. Season 2 was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Once they got to the prison and had to leave it, then I started to lose interest more and more. Because I used to read the comics, like, religiously. I've read the first excuse me, I read the first 100 issues straight all the way through, loved it, and the show just never got me never hooked me the same way as the books. Like Why the Last Man was a fantastic comic book series. I'm afraid how they're going to bastardize that for TV.
I need to read that. That's been on my list for a long time. I did read a lot of The Walking Dead when I was working at a comic book shop years ago, and I had the comic is really dismal, even more than the TV show. It's so dark, and like I don't know, it kind of bothered me. I didn't particularly care for it. But I had the same problem with the show and the comic, which is that it's just a zombie movie stretched out into, I don't know how many hours they're still going. How long is it going to be? 1,000 hours? It's a 1,000-hour long version of the same zombie movie I've seen 500 times since 1990 or whatever. It's just not. It's not anything new.
Which comic book store were you at?
I used to work at the one in the in Northgate Mall.
That wasn't Mavericks, was it?
No, the game store there, which is still open. I think I haven't been to the mall.
You mean the one that had like the arcades in the back?
It has a giant Stargate.
Yeah, that closed.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
recently, within the last year, I'd say.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time.
I still like that store, but it's been a while for me. Normally, if I'm buying old games, I buy them online because you can get them complete with the box.
You're talking board games?
No. I'm talking game. Wait, no, you didn't work at Games Galore, right? You worked at the other one?
No, I worked at the board game shop.
Oh, okay. I didn't even
way back in the corner of the mall.
Oh, shit. That's not even on my radar. Real quick, we had a super chat from the Grand Inquisitor to pop up. Thank you very much, the Grand Inquisitor. I just want Melissa Rauch to voice a protocol droid in a Star Wars movie, just like how she does in Big Bang.
I want Melissa Rauch to do anything.
Yeah,
she just needs to be somewhere. Anywhere in front of me. Although, I don't know if you know this, her husband is a big SJW.
The worst are the people that virtue signal to try to get relationships going. Yeah. That just never works.
Yeah, her husband is one of those open mouth smiling kind of guys. He took her name.
What?
Yeah, he changed his name to her name when they got married, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's a clue in. It's a little dog whistle to where he stands.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I just know her as, I think she puts on that voice to be a little fake.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think she's the cutest one. I don't like Penny. Or Amy Farrah Fowler is probably the funniest one.
Yeah.
But I just don't like that show. Obi-Wan 27883 sent in a super chat. Thank you very much, Obi-Wan. Jeff, how can you like the dumpster fire storytelling of The Walking Dead Season 1 and hate on Arrow and The Flash, which were thought out so much more?
I'm gonna go ahead and just boo that comment. Arrow and The Flash? Dear God, I think he's joking.
Oh, I know. Obi-Wan's a legit dude.
That's sarcasm right there. Because I've seen Arrow and The Flash, and those are not good shows.
I don't think Season 1 of The Walking Dead is dumpster fire storytelling. It doesn't get shitty until about when they get to the farm in Season 2. Herschel's farm is when it really slows down for me, and I lose a lot of interest in those characters.
I think it gets shitty as soon as the tank is not on screen anymore in the first episode. The tank was the only cool thing about that show.
The tank was pretty cool. I'll give it that. And then Timothy Riggs shot in one. Oh, yeah, by the way, Mo, I stopped reading when Glenn died as well. That was my favorite character.
Speaking of Arrow, if you guys want to get really wasted, try this drinking game. Just get some hard liquor. Get some Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey. And take a drink every time Felicity cries.
Oh my God, are we gonna survive?
You'll be dead.
Well, here you go, folks. That's how I'm gonna die on the channel. I'm gonna watch Arrow and drink a shot every time Felicity cries. It's been nice knowing everyone.
I think it's in her contract to cry once per episode because she does at least. At least.
I've watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of Arrow, and then I watched one of Flash. So I'm not the expert on that one.
There's a street shark in Flash. That is good stuff.
Okay, I'll look it up on Netflix when I'm bored.
You have to Google it, man. It blew my mind when I saw it. It's in like the second season, I think. They're just randomly, there's a villain that is a street shark. They just ripped it straight out of the cartoon.
I used to watch that show a lot. I had the toys.
Yeah, it was fun. They're cool. Street sharks are cool, in a 1994 kind of way.
Yeah, that's let's see. Timothy Riggs says, of the Dead remakes, Resident Evil ad nauseum, Zombieland, Shaun of the Dead, Zombie Apocalypse was dead for me long before Walking Dead. Well, Timothy Riggs, I hope that zombie movies aren't too out of style for you, because this Friday night at 11:30 we're going to be doing a live watch party of Return of the Living Dead, which is my favorite zombie flick.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys join us for that. And then if at least 500 people stick around till the end, we're going to do a live Let's Watch party of Night of the Living Dead, which I can show you guys via live stream because it's in a public domain. So I can show that movie and talk over it. So you can literally watch your screen and listen to us, and you don't have to find the movie yourself or anything like that. Plus, if you want to, it's on YouTube. So it's the easiest access point to watch a movie with us.
So you know that, obviously. You've caught on. Night of the Walking Dead, or Night of the Living Dead, is in the public domain.
Yeah, because we did a thing for horror a couple years back where I just did a commentary and slapped the movie over it.
Yeah.
And at first YouTube was like, this is copyright. And I'm like, it's in public domain. So I wrote a thing out and they accepted it.
You are correct.
All 100 views that I got monetized for 100 fucking views.
That's a wild story, isn't it? I don't know of another movie that's in the public domain like that for that reason.
No. Yeah, you just forgot they changed the name or whatever.
Yeah. They forgot to put the copyright on the film print. And
that's embarrassing.
There you go. It is embarrassing. I mean, Romero still made a career out of it. He made a fortune, but that's really interesting. I don't think that's ever happened after that.
No, and there's a documentary about the Night of the Living Dead, and it talks about how much money was probably made off of that movie, but they can never accurately gauge it because they never had to report earnings or send anything to the distributor. People would just get a hold of prints and show it, forever and keep all the money.
Oh, yeah. So, like, it could be at the top of the box office charts, and we would never know.
It could have done more than Star Wars numbers, but we'll never know. If you notice, if you watch like a horror movie and the people on TV are watching the Night of the Living Dead, because they don't want to pay any licensing fees.
Yeah,
watch Halloween 2. That's what they're watching on TV.
Yeah, it's been a midnight movie at a lot of theaters. Yeah, absolutely. They use it everywhere.
McKinney90 sent in a super chat. McKinney90, what the hell is Worldcon? Well, Mike, as we close this out in a few moments, would you like to tell the listeners what Worldcon is one last time?
Worldcon, it's funny that I have to keep doing it because that's how small it is. Like, nobody knows. It's a science fiction convention for sci-fi novelists, writers, authors. If you're George R.R. Martin or something, you might go to this convention. I think he does go to the convention, actually. He's a member of Worldcon. But that's what it is.
And real quick, tell the people one more time what the controversy is, this SJW dumpster fire that took place at the show.
It hasn't taken place at the show. The show is in 3 weeks, but they released the program for all the panels and events that are going to be at the show. And in one of the author biographies, they misgendered one of the authors that's attending the show.
And people are pulling out of the show, and it's actually a problem. People are saying they can't safely attend because of that stuff.
Yeah, it's gone absolutely out of control.
It's just stupidity.
The convention has erased the program. They deleted it from their website, and they said they're going to come up with a whole new one, and that's because ostensibly because so many people have pulled out that that program's no longer viable anymore.
It's just such a dumb situation.
It is absolutely ridiculous. Like, you would think that in a situation like this, if you were that person who was called the wrong word, you'd call up the convention and say, hey, you guys called me the wrong word. And they'd say, oh, oops, we're sorry. And you'd say, well, yeah, no worries, man. I get it. I have a confusing situation. A lot of people have trouble with it. Just, get it right the next time. And you'd think that would be it. But these aren't reasonable people that we're dealing with. So it's gone outrage dumpster fire mode immediately.
Obi-Wan 27883 said, that wasn't praise for Arrow and the Flash. Digs on Walking Dead. I get it, man. I get it.
Digs on Walking Dead. It's weird because they're all bad shows. They're just all bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
So before we go, folks, if you've been watching a lot of the World Class Bullshitters videos, and I know you do, I see the numbers, you notice that Mike's name has popped up at the beginning because he's a writer himself. So Mike, this wasn't a sponsorship video or anything like that, just to let the listeners know, but I want you to tell everyone where they can find your work because it's good stuff, and I think people need to check it out.
You can find me on Amazon.com. You can just Google Mike Leon. I am responsible for the postmodern adventures of Kill Team 1, which is an action series that is extremely postmodern. If you like Deadpool or anything that Garth Ennis does, you should check out my series of novels. And I'm on Amazon, and I'm also, I always forget to mention this, I'm on Audible too. So if you like audiobooks, check me out on Audible.
That's what I do for a lot of these Star Wars books that people want me to read. I just have to listen to them so I can do design work for the website. And then, boom, there we go. So, Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on. I hope everyone enjoyed this. A lot of people stuck through this. We actually had more viewers than I did on Good Morning Pop Culture this morning. So thank you to basically 700 people that stuck around the entire time.
Because I
hope you guys got a kick out of it the way I did. Like, I was at WWE last night, and Mike was messaging me over Facebook telling me the situation. I'm like, I just got to go live for a laugh. I hope you guys were cracking up at this.
Yeah, it is pretty entertaining.
So, folks, I'm going to return in an hour. I'm going to be on the High Council. This week it's on Jeremy's channel. So you can find me over there in less than 1 hour. We'll have the High Council. It's just Jeremy, Ethan, and I. It's going to be a lot of fun, as always, with the High Council. So you don't want to miss out on that one. And if you need to contact me, Facebook, email, worldclassbs@mail.com, or any other way is easy. So thank you to everyone who stuck around. And Logan Michael, I will have a good one. You have a better one. Thanks again.